Welcome to Not Your Typical English podcast. Join Kristin, Miriam, and Bea, your English teaching hosts. Dive into engaging conversations beyond textbooks, exploring idioms, phrasal verbs, and unique vocabulary. This isn't just your typical English class. It's a fun, memorable journey through language, culture, and daily life. Whether you're learning English or just love languages, buckle up for an amusing experience in Not Your Typical English podcast. Hey there, listeners! Welcome back to our cozy English corner. Today's a special one as we're delving into our journeys and how our paths crossed.
Oh, absolutely. It's like each of us brought our own unique thread to weave this beautiful tapestry of teaching experiences.
You know, they say birds of a feather flock together. And honestly, that's how it felt when we first met.
Totally. We were two peas in a pod. Well, actually three. All sharing this unwavering enthusiasm for teaching English.
And we were all in the same boat, navigating through our career shifts, finding our footing.
Right, and that's probably why we get along.
Yeah. Who knew when we decided to forge ahead with our career paths, they'd all intertwine later on.
It's funny how our paths eventually caught up with one another, creating an unexpected friendship.
That's true. It's like our paths were destined to intersect, despite all of us coming from such different backgrounds.
Exactly. And here we are, with our own stories, but united in our passion for teaching English.
Yeah. Our individual journeys may have been different, but our shared enthusiasm brings a wonderful balance to this podcast. All right. So in our first episode, we talked about ourselves, giving you insight into who we are. But we haven't yet mentioned how our paths crossed, and the story is kind of serendipitous.
Absolutely. It all began when I took over your position as an English teacher, Chris, after you left. Do you remember from our first episode that I mentioned that I had set a deadline for a job? This was the one.
Oh.
I didn't meet you until years later, but I was hearing many things about you when I first took up that position.
I hope all good.
Of course. A couple of months after starting the job, I was given a different role, and since I had more admin work to do, I needed someone to cover some of my teaching hours, especially for kids' lessons, as they were and still are not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
So, among all the CVs, I invited Miriam for an interview.
Yes, I remember very well when I met Bea about 6 years ago, because she's the one who hired me for my first job as a teacher. The first time I saw her, I remember thinking she was very young, but also very professional. By the way, there's a funny story about it. So I was supposed to teach only English. So to make a good impression, I exaggerated my level of Spanish on my resume, convinced that no one would ask me about it.
Uh-oh.
Yes, right? Obviously, after a successful interview, Bea asked me to speak Spanish. Let's just say I had claimed to be a C1 level, but I was more of a B2 level. But she was very kind to overlook it. Moral of the story, though, don't lie on your CV, because you never know.
Tisk, tisk.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't mentioned it, but I am also bilingual in English and Spanish, so that's why it was quite easy to catch you on that. But hey, we got along well despite the little fib.
Yeah, thankfully. When I met Chris, on the other hand, I had already heard a lot about her, both from Bea and from other colleagues who spoke highly of her. It was interesting because, in a way, we were all in the same boat. Given that I had been hired to fill Bea's role, that was actually Kristin's role, a little bit confusing. But in a twist of fate, Chris and I have never worked together because we always more or less replaced each other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I left that job in 2017, and you, Miriam, arrived in 2018.
Yes, so 3 years after hiring Miriam, as our courses multiplied, I had to get more teachers on board. But trying to find foreign teachers in the city where we all lived wasn't easy. So I thought, why not get some of the former teachers back?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really smart thinking on your end. And that's when I got the call and met you, Bea. It's too bad COVID hit us, though. Before we could actually team up officially, it seemed like a missed opportunity at the time, considering the synergy among us. But of course, as fate would have it, we were destined to come together.
Totally. The pandemic changed everything. Both Miriam and I have moved on from that ship. But hey, you, Chris, became the lifeline for them, stepping in to navigate the teaching waters. And as a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever worked with Chris either.
No, go figure. While I was in that role, I heard plenty about the two of you from administrators, teachers, and students alike. But yeah, outside teachers always commended your organization and skill set. Miriam, kids would always ask me when you were coming back.
Aww,
yeah, you both certainly make an impression. I stuck around until I felt it was time to branch out and go solo with my teaching business. And here I am again, collaborating with you ladies. Talk about forging ahead through obstacles. It's so interesting how our paths kept overlapping.
Right. As you said before, Chris, birds of a feather, huh? But it's okay. Even though we have never worked together there, we have found our own way to create an unexpected alliance that enrich our experiences in the world of teaching.
Like two peas in a pod, navigating through the ups and downs, even if it hasn't been in the same boat. Chris, I don't remember. When did you meet Miriam?
Well, I was first introduced to Miriam when I came to the office to see you, Bea, to discuss coming back to work with all of you. Then at some point in late 2020, I went to dinner with some of the coworkers and Miriam joined us. So from that point on, we all have continued to stay in touch, meet up, and now here we are, a collaboration 6 years in the making.
Hey guys, let's talk about something that confuses many learners. Past simple versus present perfect.
Oh, absolutely. They can be a bit tricky to differentiate, right?
Definitely. So the past simple is all about actions that happened at a specific time in the past. Like, I left that job in 2017.
Right. And the present perfect focuses on actions without specifying when they happened, often connected to the present. For instance, we have never worked together.
Exactly. The past simple is like a snapshot of a past event, while the present perfect is more about the experience or result without pinpointing the time.
The past simple is like, I did it, while the present perfect says, I've done it at some point, and it's relevant now.
And learners often mix them up, especially with those time adverbs or markers.
Oh, definitely. Sometimes a small word changes everything, like last summer for past simple or ever for present perfect.
Yeah, those subtle variances make a world of difference in English sentences.
Spot on. But hey, mastering these nuances is all part of the English learning journey, isn't it?
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect, they say.
Keep practicing, listeners. Step by step, you'll get closer to understanding these kinds of grammar riddles.
Alright folks, let's unravel the meanings behind the phrases we have just tossed around. Are you ready for some insights?
Birds of a feather flock together. This phrase suggests that people with similar interests or characteristics, like us, often group or associate with each other.
Two peas in a pod implies a strong similarity or closeness between two individuals, just like two peas found together in a pod, emphasizing their likeness or compatibility.
In the same boat indicates being in a similar situation or facing the same circumstances, often sharing challenges or experiences.
Get along with. This phrasal verb signifies having a good relationship or rapport with someone, suggesting a harmonious or friendly connection.
Forge ahead. Well, this expression stands for the act of moving forward or progressing with determination, particularly in spite of obstacles or challenges.
And then we have catch up with. This phrasal verb means reconnecting with someone after a period of time, resuming or updating on recent events or experiences.
And now for the word of this episode. Can you guess what it was? I'll give you a clue. It means something occurring or discovered by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Do you think it's synergy, serendipitous, or collaboration?
If you guess serendipitous, you'd be correct.
Yay! Yes,
is the adjective form of the noun serendipity, is it not?
You're right. And serendipity is the fact of finding interesting or valuable things by chance.
Well, I think that certainly speaks to how we got here.
And that's a wrap for our little language exploration. Remember, language is full of these hidden treasures that add color to our conversations. We hope today's episode of Not Your Typical English Podcast sparked a newfound enthusiasm for language learning within you. Dive into our archives to explore more fascinating language insights. Your feedback fuels our passion, so leave us a review and tell us what you would love to hear next. Until our next linguistic adventure, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing your language boundaries.